The air in Carnegie Hall buzzed with the chatter of New York's musical elite. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tailored tuxedos and glittering gowns. It was the annual gala for the Harmony Foundation, a charity event that drew the city's wealthiest patrons and sharpest critics. At the center of it all stood Marcus Everett, a 45-year-old pianist whose name was synonymous with Beethoven's brilliance. His world tour sold out in hours, his recordings topped charts, and his million-dollar endorsements made him untouchable. But tonight, his spotlight would be stolen by an unlikely rival, a 17-year-old blind kid from Brooklyn named Jamal Carter. Jamal stood near a gleaming Steinway Grand, his white cane gripped tightly in one hand. He wasn't supposed to be here. Not really. His high school music teacher, Miss Lena Brooks, had pulled strings to get them 2 tickets to the exclusive recital. For Jamal, it was a rare chance to hear a legend perform live. For Marcus, the sight of this misplaced teenager in a borrowed suit was an irritation, a flaw in the evening's carefully curated perfection. To him, Jamal symbolized everything wrong with inclusive policies that let outsiders into sacred spaces like this. "Come on, kid," Marcus called out, his voice smooth but laced with mockery. "Why don't you play something for us? I bet you know Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." The audience tittered, sipping their champagne. Marcus adjusted his custom Brioni jacket, flashing a grin at the crowd. "Let's see what our diversity initiative looks like in action." The room fell into an awkward hush. Clara Hensley, the Harmony Foundation's director, leaned toward her assistant, whispering, "This is inappropriate." But she didn't intervene. Marcus was the evening's star, the reason donors opened their checkbooks. No one dared challenge him. Jamal's fingers tightened around his cane. Nobody in that room knew he spent 10 hours a day practicing on a battered keyboard in a community center's storage room. Nobody knew that at age 4, he could recreate entire concertos after a single listen. And nobody could sense the storm brewing behind his calm exterior as he memorized every smug word, every chuckle, every ounce of condescension in the air. "Actually," Jamal said, his voice steady, cutting through the murmurs like a blade, "I prefer Mozart." Marcus laughed, a sharp, theatrical sound. "Mozart, huh? And what masterpiece would you grace us with, young man?" His smile was all teeth, expecting an easy victory. Jamal's response was soft but unshakable. "Piano Sonata 11 in a major, the Rondo alla Turca. But it might be a bit complex for this crowd." The silence that followed was deafening. The old clock in the hall ticked louder than the collective breaths of the audience. Jamal's quiet confidence shifted the room's energy. Some guests exchanged glances, sensing something extraordinary was about to unfold. Marcus's smile faltered. The Rondo alla Turca was a fiendishly difficult piece, its rapid tempo and intricate phrasing a challenge even for seasoned professionals. "Complex," he repeated, his tone sharpening. "You're addressing people who fund the world's finest symphonies. Do you even know where you are?" The crowd murmured agreement. Evelyn Carver, heiress to a tech fortune and the gala's top donor, whispered to her companion, "The nerve of this boy. Someone needs to teach him respect." Jamal didn't flinch, his grip on his cane loosened, his hand steady as if preparing for battle. "Marcus," said Dr. Samuel Klein, conductor of the Philadelphia Philharmonic, stepping forward, "let's move on with the program." "No, no," Marcus interrupted, his irritation now plain. "This young man thinks he's above our guests. Let's see him prove it." He strode to the piano and played the opening bars of the rondo with exaggerated flair, his fingers dancing with practiced precision. "This, Jamal, requires not just skill, but sophistication. Are you sure you want to try?" What Marcus didn't know was that Jamal had spent the last 9 years, since a fire took his parents and his sight, making music his lifeline. His aunt, Renee, a janitor at a local music school, had snuck him into practice rooms after hours, sharing bootleg recordings and braille scores. Jamal didn't just play music, he lived it, dissecting every composer's intent, every historical nuance, every emotional thread. "Mr. Everett," Jamal said, his voice calm but pointed, "you played the opening in C major. The rondo is in A major." The room froze. Marcus's face flushed. He'd switched keys deliberately to test the boy, never expecting to be called out. "A little trick," he stammered, his polish cracking, "to test your ear." "I see," Jamal replied, his tone so composed it unnerved the crowd. "Then you also know Mozart wrote this piece to capture joy in chaos, a rebellion against rigidity. Playing it right means feeling that freedom, not just hitting the notes. Marcus's jaw tightened. The boy's words cut deeper than he'd admit, exposing the emotional hollowness critics had long whispered about his performances. "Enough talk," he snapped. "Play or step aside." Jamal set his cane against the bench and sat. "One question first," he said, turning slightly to the audience. "Has anyone here ever lost everything in a single moment and had to rebuild themselves from nothing?" The question hung heavy, silencing the room. It wasn't just rhetoric. It was a challenge, a glimpse into the soul of a boy who turned pain into power. Jamal's fingers touched the keys, and from the first note, the hall transformed. The rondo alla turca erupted with a vibrancy that made Marcus's earlier performance feel mechanical by comparison. Each phrase was alive, infused with a joy and defiance that spoke of a life rebuilt note by note. The audience leaned forward, captivated. Evelyn Carver, who'd scoffed earlier, now clutched her pearls, tears welling in her eyes. Dr. Klein whispered, "My God, I've never heard Mozart played like this." In his 50 years of conducting, he'd rarely witnessed such raw genius. Marcus's legs weakened. The boy's technique wasn't just flawless, it was effortless, surpassing his own with a natural ease that felt like a betrayal of everything he'd worked for. Jamal wasn't just playing, he was telling his story. The fire that stole his family, the world that dismissed him, the music that saved him. The rondo's playful chaos became a metaphor for his resilience, each note a defiance of the prejudice that had tried to break him. When he reached the final movement, the room felt electric. Jamal wasn't performing for the elite, he was speaking through them, connecting their hearts to a universal truth about struggle and triumph. Marcus watched, paralyzed, as his own legacy unraveled. Every note exposed the sterility of his own playing, the arrogance of his assumptions. As Jamal struck the final chord, the silence was sacred. Then the hall erupted. The ovation wasn't just applause, it was a reckoning. Guests stood, some weeping, others shouting praise. Clara Hensley whispered to her assistant, "We just witnessed history." Marcus stood frozen, his career crumbling in real time. Dr. Klein approached, his face grim. "Marcus, we need to discuss your future with the Philharmonic." Evelyn Carver was already texting her network, ensuring the story of Marcus's cruelty would spread like wildfire. Jamal rose, turning to Marcus. "Thank you, Mr. Everett, for giving me a stage." His handshake was steady, his voice free of malice, but the words carried a weight that crushed Marcus's pride. The boy had turned his mockery into a platform for greatness. 6 months later, Jamal Carter walked the halls of the Manhattan School of Music, a full scholarship student at 18. Dr. Klein had personally vouched for him, calling him a once-in-a-century talent. His practice room overlooked the Hudson River, a far cry from the cramped storage closet where he'd honed his craft. Evelyn Carver, now his biggest supporter, funded a program to find other overlooked prodigies in underserved neighborhoods. "Jamal showed me what privilege should do, lift others up, not tear them down," she told reporters. Marcus Everett's star, meanwhile, had fallen. His contracts evaporated as the viral video of Jamal's performance, and Marcus's cruelty, racked up millions of views. Critics tore into his soulless technique, and his European tour flopped. He now taught private lessons in a small Brooklyn studio, his name a cautionary tale of hubris. At Jamal's Carnegie Hall debut a year later, he played the rondo again, this time as the headliner. The sold-out crowd included music legends and reformed skeptics like Evelyn. Marcus watched the live stream from his dim apartment, each note a reminder of his downfall. As Jamal took his final bow, he spoke to the audience. "Music isn't owned by wealth or status. It's a bridge between souls, no matter who you are." The ovation lasted 12 minutes, a testament to a truth Marcus had learned too late. True greatness rises above prejudice, and talent, forged in hardship, always finds its way. Jamal's first album broke records, becoming the top classical release of the decade. He founded a music school in Brooklyn, mentoring kids like him. Marcus, humbled, taught his students to play with heart, not just skill, hoping to atone for his past. Jamal's story lives on, a legend of a blind kid who turned mockery into mastery, proving that the truest art comes from those who fought to be heard.